Welcome to East Atlanta Church, where ministry is made simple by Pastor Jéan L. Ward.
Black History Month is one of those months that, we try to learn a lot. And being a product of the HBCU, one of the things that, a lot of people say, going to an HBCU, you're not taught about the real world. You're not taught how to deal with people of other races. But it's quite the contrary. That's right. See, when you know who you are, you can deal with anyone. See, one thing they taught me at Morehouse was they taught me who I was as a man and a black man. Okay? And when I found out who I was, there was nobody who could take away my self-esteem. There's no one who could disrespect me. There's no one that could make me feel less than who God purposed me to be. But the problem I've realized is that we don't know how to transition that into being children of God. See, we got power to the people, we like Christian Month, you want to love yourself. I mean, some of y'all want to go see Black Panther, and y'all think y'all in Wakanda now. I'm just saying, But here's the thing. All that means nothing unless you know your identity. One of the things, I see these past 2 weeks, people talk about a lot, and we've experienced a lot in this country within this past month. And legally, legislatively, but the bottom line is, I made a statement. Everything changed when we removed God. And I'm getting y'all a message that says a point to it. They talk about guns in schools, they talk about, removing AR-15s and doing this and having metal detectors and having bulletproof backpacks and arming teachers and doing all these other things. And it's amazing how we'll put everything else in the school, but we won't put back what was supposed to be there. I don't know if you understand. In 1962, they removed prayer from school. If you look at the stats, you will find out in the 1960s, school shootings quadrupled after they removed prayer and God from school. I said quadrupled. And they did no less than double each decade after. So people can say, well, it's because of guns. We've always had guns. They can say it's because of automatic weapons. We've always had them. It comes back to God and knowing who you are. So if you will turn with me if you would to Kings. First Samuel 17. Because see, if you don't know who you are, and as we say as preachers, you don't know whose you are, you're destined to be lost. And you're going to try to emulate and be like someone else. The skit that you saw earlier, yes, colorism was real because of the fact that individuals are trying to identify with their oppressor. That's why light-skinned people treated dark-skinned people differently, because they try to identify with someone else that oppressed them. Remember, hurting people hurt people. And we're going to find out how that works. Now, I know how many of y'all have been through a situation where you tried to do what's right, but then the people you love the most try to hold you back. The very people that were even your family tried to hold you back. We're going to find out about this guy named David. And in 1 Samuel, you all know the story, so I'm going to just peruse through this real briefly. 1 Samuel 17. And it says, in verse 25, now the Israelites had been saying, do you see how this man keeps coming out? He comes out to defy Israel. The king will give great wealth to the man who kills him. He will also give him his daughter in marriage and will exempt his family from taxes in Israel. David asked the men standing near him, what will be done for the man who kills this Philistine? And watch this, removes this disgrace from Israel. Who is this uncircumcised Philistine that he should defy the armies of the living God? Who is this Philistine that should defy the armies of the living God? They repeated unto him, and they said, and saying what they told him, this is what will be done for the man who kills him. Now here we come with the family and friends. When David's oldest brother heard him speaking with the men, he burned with anger at him and asked, why have you come down here? And with whom did you leave those few sheep in the wilderness? I know how conceited you are and how wicked your heart is. You came down only to watch the battle. David turns and he says, now what have I done? Can I even speak? He turned away to someone else and brought up the same matter, and the men answered him as before. What David said was overheard and reported to Saul, and Saul sent for him. David said to Saul, let no one lose heart on account of this Philistine. Your servant will go fight him. Yes. Saul replied, you are not able to go out against the Philistine and fight him. You are only a young man, and he has been a warrior from youth. I'm going to pause right there and help you understand what's really going on. I know we know the story, but here's the thing. Oftentimes in our life, we are faced with adversities because of the fact that we're not sure of who we are. See, David went into this whole thing, and he went down to take food to his brothers. I'm sure you know the story. But then he began to see what was going on. And here's the problem that we have in society today still. When something offends the kingdom of God, we don't stand up. See, David wasn't upset because this guy was ruling. David wasn't upset and didn't want it because he wanted to marry his daughter. David wasn't concerned about getting his taxes free. David wasn't concerned about anything but the fact that he had disgraced God. See, maybe, let me put it to you this way. You know how when somebody talks about your family, you're ready to fight. Point blank is this. You can talk about your sister. Let me talk about your sister. You're going to have a problem with me, aren't you? But we're not that same way when it comes to the kingdom, are we? We will allow everyone and everything to take away from God, to disrespect God, to rebuke God and His Word, all because of the fact that we don't want to make it uncomfortable for other individuals. All because of the fact that it seems like this giant is bigger than us. Because we've seen individuals go against this giant. See, the Goliath in a situation, and people want to talk about, well, sound doctrine, you shouldn't talk about the Goliath and the giant in your life. But I'm going to be honest with you, we have giants in our lives. And the problem is, we've seen other people go against these giants and lose. But the reason they lost is because they were fighting for the wrong principles. See, if you're not fighting for the principles of God and His kingdom, then you're fighting for the wrong thing. You're fighting for self. And David went into this whole battle understanding that I wasn't doing this for myself. I'm doing this for God. I'm not doing it for the king. I'm not doing it for my family. I'm not even doing it for the kingdom. I'm doing it because of God. But he had to understand who he was. So the first thing we have to realize, and knowing who we are and facing giants, we have to stop being so busy discussing but doing no action. We talk a lot, and right now we're talking about guns and all this other stuff, and what's going to happen? It's going to fade away, isn't it? We talk a lot. It's Black History Month. We talk about unification and coming together. You all dressed up in your native go robe and everything, but here's the thing. What's going to happen in March? You want to talk about empowering Black people? How many of y'all shop at Black-owned businesses? Matter of you want to talk about empowering the kingdom? How many of y'all do business with believers? Matter of fact, how many of you do business with people in this church? Because I know we got some business. Even if you don't have business owners, you have individuals here that still work in sales, retail, or whatever, that you still can give your business to.
That's right.
But we don't do that, do we? See, this is how you fight giants. Because of the fact that when you come together, but see, we want to talk about the problem. And that's what they were doing individually. Each one would go out and fight Goliath by himself. Each one would go out and they would go out and they would sit back and they would talk. Hey, this is a bad situation. This is a terrible thing. Yeah, it is bad. This is very bad. But once again, nothing was being done. Because the worst thing in the world, and even we as a people, and I know you're like, Pastor, you can't be giving this whole black thing on Sunday, but here's the realness. If you cannot work together to lift up your brother and sister, how can you expect to go anywhere? My daughter's boyfriend is in the Naval Academy in Annapolis, and she was telling me that he had to lose weight. I said, yeah, he probably has to weigh around 180, 185. She's like, yeah, but that's so small. And my wife was like, why would he have to lose weight? I said, because he has to be able to lift his weight, and other people have to be able to lift his weight. See, it's selfish of you to think that just because you can do you and not concerned about anybody else, you should be okay. I said, understand something. There's a thing called the human ladder. You all know what the human ladder is? Okay. Any people in the military, prior military? Okay. A human ladder, for the rest of you that don't know, is when you have, let's say, 8 men, and there's a wall, we got to climb that wall. All right. Now, what would happen is one man would get up, another man would climb on his shoulders, the next man would climb on his shoulders, the next man would climb on his shoulders until we got to the top of the wall. The man on the top would then raise the man there. Those who would raise the next man, those who would raise the next man, and they would pull the ladder up.
That's right.
Now, if you are big like me, then you will have a problem lifting me up.
Yes, sir.
And if you're big like me, you might not have the upper body strength, watch this, to hold yourself as someone else is pulling you. So what does that mean spiritually? It means this. If you're not conditioned spiritually for the battle you're going into, to get over the obstacle that Satan has placed in front of you, you can't expect for somebody else to raise the roof or lift you up, or you even be able to hold on because you're not spiritually fit. Am I making sense here? So the thing is, we are our brother's keeper. It's not just about me going over the wall. It's about every one of you going over the wall. But for you to go over the wall, you have to make sure that you're spiritually conditioned, ready for that wall. So you got to stop just talking about it. And sometimes when you're talking in that preparation, that means you have to take a step back. That means you got to cut some things out. You got to trim the fat. You got to fast, in other words. Okay, you want to call it diet, whatever you want to call it, but you have to fast. In a permanent fast. Okay, you have to be purged. And see, when we go through that, we tend to lose some things, but we don't want to lose those things. The next thing is our pride. We can't allow our pride to get in the way of what we want to do.
Come on.
See, David's brothers, it's amazing when people try to point out the things in you that actually see the things in themselves. Can you imagine? It wasn't the fact that they didn't want David there. It was the fact that they didn't want David to see them losing, nor did they want David to be in a situation where he would get greater glory than them. Because remember, already David had been prophesied over. Okay, David was so out, was a stepchild. Remember? He was not even considered. That his father didn't even consider him. Jesse didn't look at him. Okay? So you got to understand the mindset and the psyche, kind of like what we still do in church. You know, we don't have a problem with uplifting the person that we think is better than us. Did you hear what I just said? We don't have a problem with uplifting the person we think is better than us. But how dare you raise this person up when I look at him and he's not or she's not good as I am? You don't know that who God called. You're looking at the outside. outside, God has looked at the spirit.
That's right. Amen.
God realized that, guess what? They haven't even begun to touch their potential and you've maxed out. And you're wondering why God didn't choose you. God maxed you where you are. God has a lot of growing to do. That's why He chose Him. Am I making sense? Are you with me here? So you can't get mad about it. You got to celebrate it. You have to. That's the greatest thing about change. You know, I was this past Wednesday, and Bible said one of the things I was saying is, you know, true leadership is not judged how people are when the leader is present. True leadership is defined when the leader is no longer there. See, if I'm leading someone and you can't operate without me, I'm not a leader. Did you hear what I just said? So if people got to be there for them to do their job, you're not leading correctly. Now I know that's a tough pill to swallow, because some of y'all think y'all leaders. And I know that pride thing tells you that you got to be there all the time. But guess what? If you're really doing God's will, you don't need to be there. You should be empowering them to lead and be strong. And watch this. See, here's why pride is so dangerous. Pride will stop you from allowing someone else to be better than you. There is no reason that anybody you lead should not excel beyond you. See, in church we have a problem with young people sometimes. Because of the fact that we don't want them to get in leadership, we don't want them to take over, we don't want them to do this, and we sometimes, Pastor, I think you're doing too much too soon. You know, they need some time. No, they don't. They need to start where they are and start running. You know what? Matter of fact, they need to be in leadership now because watch this. So when they make mistakes, you can help them. Okay, it's called on-the-job training. All right. You show me a president that knew what he was doing when he got in, before he got in office. Not one. They learned the job. Every president learned what they were doing in the job. Okay? But they were still good. They were still good leaders. So why do we expect people younger than us? Why do we expect them to be so perfect? And we don't want to embrace them. We do what David's brothers did. Why are you here? Why are you here? The next thing you have to understand is we can't be ashamed of our stature. See, one of the greatest things about David is David, they said, was a little redhead boy. Okay? I mean, he was nothing to look at. He wasn't large in stature. He wasn't a big dude. You know, he wasn't the one that, you know, you just... Right, I mean, not at that time he wasn't, you know. But here's the funny part about David. David knew who he was. He said, in verse 34, but David said to Saul, your servant has been keeping his father's sheep.
Yes, sir.
So first, he identified that I submit unto you, king. Second, he identified that he was nothing but a shepherd boy. See, he didn't even try. See, many of you would have gotten bold and like, do you know who I am? Do you know I'm a warrior too? Just because you haven't given me the chance, let me show you. David didn't do that. David did it in a humble way. He first bowed down. I need you to get this. If you want someone in leadership to hear you, submit yourself. If you want someone of authority to hear you, submit yourself. Anytime you will go before the king, you will bow and you will kneel down. Why? As a sign of respect. But we don't want to do that nowadays. Okay? Remember, respect is not earned. It is given. Did you hear what I just said? Respect is not earned. It's given. Okay? The next thing is, he said, I love this. He says, when a lion or a bear came and carried off a sheep from the flock, I went after it, struck it, and rescued the sheep from its mouth. When it turned on me, I seized it by its hair, struck it, and killed it. Once again, your servant has killed both the lion and the bear. This uncircumcised Philistine will be like one of them. Why? Because he has defied the armies of the living God. The Lord who rescued me from the paw of the lion and the paw of the bear will rescue me from the hand of this Philistine.
All right.
See, David understood who he was. See, one of the problems, we don't even understand who we are. We're living in a society where we're trying to emulate and look like everybody else. We're trying to, and I say this, and I used to say it about women, but I'm going to say it about men too. Men now look alike. Now, I always say, women, man, this whole facial contouring thing and the hair weave and all that. I'm not knocking, understand, I'm not knocking makeup. Okay? Don't nobody buy a car with no paint on it. Okay? Alright? Anybody ever bought a car with no paint? I'm just saying, even makeup got a spring special going on right now to repaint your car. So, okay? So understand, I'm not knocking makeup. Alright? But you don't put a bowling ball paint job on a Bentley. Did you hear what I just said? Those are iridescent colors. You just don't do that to certain cars, do you? Okay. So you don't accessorize certain things. When you're great, there's certain things you only have to do as enhance. But what we're doing now in our society, we're so busy trying to look like someone else. Think about it. If you're and people talk about social media, but social media is real because of the fact that that's what pumps our society. That is the number one marketing place. That's where sales happens. That's where everything happens. And you're finding more and more people trying to look like someone else. Amen. And now even men are doing the same thing. One of the end things is European slim cut suits. I'm a big man. I'm not gonna wear that. Okay. Now, there are some big men that are wearing them, and they should not be wearing them. Because I don't have to look like them. You understand? But let me bring it back to the church. Some of y'all kind of old, a little bit older than me. But I would get tired of going to church and people always trying to dress. It's a certain way you got to dress. I get so tired of seeing guys that call themselves bishops and apostles, and I'm looking at them and I'm like, dude, you ain't a dress. Why you got lace all on and chiffon? I'm just trying to understand, and that's supposed to make you more holy? No, that doesn't make you more holy, it just makes me a little questionable. Because it ain't got nothing to do with scripture. Okay? Half of them don't have one completely the other way, and you can't even, if you ask them the regalia that they're wearing, what it signifies, they can't tell you. That's right. But they're doing it because of somebody else did it. And then they wonder why they lose their anointing. Yeah. You see, I see so many people become bishops and apostles, and then their ministry died. Why? Because they didn't do what David did. They didn't understand who he was, who they were. And the next thing it says, then Saul dressed David in his own tunic. Yes. He put a coat of armor on him and a bronze helmet on his head. David fastened on his sword over the tunic and tried walking around. Because he was not used to them, I cannot go in these, he said to Saul, because I am not used to them. So he took them off. The other version says that he said they had not been proven. See, this is what happens when you try to be like somebody else. You can't operate the way God wants you to operate. You have to be yourself. Stop trying to be other people and someone else. See, when you know who you are, when you identify with who you are, then you don't have to do things that everybody else. As a matter of fact, we don't need another Burger King. You understand? To be honest with you, even in church, half the problem why a lot of churches don't make it is because, and a pastor was talking about some great things that y'all are doing. And the thing is, pastors, I love what your pastor's doing. Pastors, when they look at succession plans, and they look at when they want to start another ministry or they want to plan a secondary ministry, you know what they look for? A lot of guys. They look for somebody like them.
Amen.
Guess what? We don't need another Robert Hodo.
That's right.
That's what God had him does is what he does.
That's right.
You understand what I'm saying?
Right.
See, there's a season and people that God blessed him for that season and for those individuals. See, I can't emulate him. I'm not going to try to. You know why? Because see, he's proven it who he is. I gotta work at what I got. You understand what I'm saying? But see, half of us are in the church trying to do what we sing, how somebody else sing. You know, we want to dress how somebody else dress, preach how somebody else preach, use the same text as somebody else. No, listen, be yourself. There's a reason that God called you out the way you are. There's a reason that if you look at the 12 disciples that walked with Jesus, all of them were different. And all of them were flawed. Okay? But guess what? You needed every single one of them. Even Judas had a purpose. And I know I need to talk about that, but even Judas had a purpose. You understand what I'm saying? And sometimes the people that kiss you are the ones that might just betray you. And watch this. And even the ones that may love you won't be the ones that carry your word. Do your Bible study, you'll understand what I mean by that. Because see, the ones that didn't believe in you are the ones that will start your church. You understand? Read your Bible, you understand. So, in that, you have to be who you are. You have to have your own identity. You have to embrace that. And David knew that. David didn't take us. It's funny. I love this thinking. Everybody had a sword. Everybody had a shield. It didn't work. David went in there and he said, you know what? I'm picking up 5 stones. I'm going to put them in my sack. I'm going to take up all this stuff. You know? And then he had a stick. And Goliath looked at him and said, do you think I'm a dog? Who do you think I am? But see, that's the thing. Many of you would have gotten mad because of the fact someone disrespected you and thought less good. Think less of me. See, here's the thing. When people think less of you, they're not paying attention to you. And it allows you to do what God positioned you to do. You ain't got to go out and fight. You ain't got to tell everybody who you are. You don't have to set your reputation up. Because see, if you're busy being like somebody else, you're going to lose out. There's a quick story and I'm almost done. When I was 14 years old, and you said, thank you, Lord, you want me done? Amen. I know. I was 14 years old, and I went to Northside School of Performing Arts, and I don't want to say the guy's name, but there's a guy that was in a TV show. The TV show was called Time Out. If y'all from here, y'all know about Time Out on WSB. Well, this young guy who was in the class with me, he's 1 year older than me. Everybody knew him. He was real popular. They picked me to be on another TV show called 730 Magazine, PM Magazine, and then a show called Kids and Company. Well, because of the fact that they picked me because they thought I was the other guy. Okay, that's really what happened. They say he did it, he auditioned well, yeah, but we know who he is and he's good, so they picked me. But what happened is they thought I was him. All right. Now, it all was good when they realized I wasn't. But then it went south because then I was on WAGA, he was on WSB. And people were getting confused because sometimes they thought we were the same person. Back then, you couldn't be on 2 different broadcast channels. You couldn't do that. And then I got picked up for Kids and Company, which was on WXIA, Channel 11. And they thought that it was him. And then movies I was getting cast in, we both got cast in a movie at the same time. And they cut me from the movie because I looked like him.
All right.
Now, here's the thing. Because my identity was not unique from his, I missed out on some opportunities. But what it taught me when I was younger, I had developed my own style.
That's right.
Now, where everybody, and I really had to develop my own style. I went and colored my hair, blonde hair and everything. You know, where everybody else was wearing jeans, I was wearing parachute pants. And, you know, I'm serious, ashy white. I was different. But I developed my own style. And I kept that way until I became older. You know, my wife will tell you now, I mean, if you see the way I dress, it's me. You know, some of y'all look at me like, why does he have on what he has on? Because I want to. I'm not here to impress you about how I dress. I love you, but guess what? I don't care. As long as I'm decent and presentable. I'm sure Pastor will let me know, like, hey, Ward, nah, now. As long as you don't say that, guess what? I'm good. So, but the thing is, it's my identity. And the thing is, I can't be nobody but Jéan. I can't preach nobody's way but Jéan's. I can't minister and I can't love nobody's way but Jéan's. So therefore, if you love and serve the way you're supposed to, and not concern yourself about how everybody else did it, then you'll get that victory. Because what happened, David turned around and took those stones. And as everybody denied him and denounced him, and even talked about him, David loaded up that slingshot, and we know the story, and launched it into the forehead of Goliath. But then, watch this, he took the very tool that Goliath had. Now here's the funny part, what you got to understand. See, this last point I forgot to give you. Everything don't have to be killed. Okay? Because see, your previous battle is your preparation for your next battle. See, the reason David knew how to use a slingshot because he fought a lion and a bear. You understand? Many of y'all mad because y'all fought some lions and bears. You heard what I just said. Y'all don't be through some hell in your life, but y'all mad about it and say, why did God put you through it? Because God said, I got a giant you're ready to face. But see, the fact is, unless you embrace that, what you're going through now, you're not going to be able to embrace what's going on then. Because you're going to run from it. You can say, like, I'm sick and tired of fighting. God said, no, you're not, because I got some fights for you. See, you can't go where I got you to go without fighting for something. I was watching MMA last night. Don't ask me why. But I've noticed something. The more a person, have anybody watched anime? You ever listen to the backstories of these guys? They are not pretty. There's some, it is Black History Month. I'm going to say this, don't take it wrong. I know I got my white friends watching. I love y'all. Okay, but I'm going to say I'm a black man. In my black man psyche, there's not a white boy that can beat me. Okay? You can call it racism, you can call it prejudice. In my mindset, there two people can't beat me. A woman can't beat me, so I can care less who you are, but a woman is not going to beat my butt. I don't care who she is. In my mind. Okay? It ain't going to happen. Okay, you going to have to kill me. I'm not guilty. Alright? I'm just being honest. And I can't imagine a white guy beating me. Okay? My people went through too many beatings from them to people that want to beat me. Okay? I'm just going to be honest with you. That's all it is. Now that that's all said and done, I listened to the backstories of some of these guys. And his mom, they lived in a shack, and they went from house to house, and he lived in a car. And I'm like, man, white folk got this kind of problems? No wonder they fight in MMA. They had to fight all their life. You know, for real. I mean, these guys have some horror stories. And so when I hear them making $1 million for fighting, I can't even get mad at them. Dude, you deserve it because you done had to fight all your life to get to where you are. If you look at the story of Mike Tyson, fought all his life to get to where he is. These people have to go through some things in life. I can't think of that many stories of individuals that did not have to go through some suffering to get to where they are right now. Okay? Everybody is not a Barack Obama. Please understand. Everybody didn't get that. Everybody doesn't have this easy road. Some of y'all kids are a little privileged right now. And that is crying because they feel that they got a little struggle. Baby, where God got to go through, you got some struggles to go through. God is saying, listen, you have a battle because I got someplace to take you. Have you ever seen a weak person climb Mount Everest? Think about it. You know, I'm just saying. I mean, I look at all the great, I look at superheroes. They all got a backstory. Everybody has a backstory. So why are you mad because God is developing yours? Did you hear what I said? Why are you mad because God is developing your backstory? Don't nobody, ain't no story for me to tell you. You know, well, my parents were millionaires and I was. Donald Trump does not impress any of you, does he? Think about it. I love him as a person. He's our commander-in-chief. I respect him. Okay? But the thing is this. When he tells what my dad gave me $10 million to start my first business. Dude, I'm sorry. Your dad gave you $10 million. I feel you. Give me $10 million. Okay? You understand? Oh, I pray for everybody. You know, because some of us will do worse than Donald Trump. We would have $10 million and still be broke. At least he did something. Let's just keep it real. Okay? Some of y'all are not good stewards of what God has given you. Okay? So before we start throwing out on a president, let's look at, did you do a better job? Okay. Not that I support him, I'm just saying. Now, your previous battle, because God gave you that previous battle, and what you're going through, God has conditioned you for. So therefore, but we have to realize is, David did not go in there to try to kill Goliath. Nor did David go after the bear and the lion to kill them. David went there for restoration.
Amen. Amen.
Did you know what I said? He said, you know the story. He said they took the sheep. He went to retrieve the sheep. But here's what happened when he retrieved the sheep. The lion turned against him. See, what happens is you all get what God has, and then the situation you face turned around on you. And when it turns around on you, now you want to cry foul. Listen, the enemy comes to steal, kill, and destroy. Did you not think he was going to turn around and come at you? But you get mad. But David said, listen, after that happened, he realized, now I must kill you.
That's right. Good point.
I must destroy you now. See, and that's the thing what Christ did for us. Christ came back and he came here and he says, I must regain what has been stolen. We are the lost sheep. And what happened is the enemy has captured many of us and has us in his jaw. And Christ is saying it's time for us to go back out and grab the church, the kingdom of God, his children, out of the claws of the lion and the bear of Satan that is trying to take them away. But the thing is, you got to be ready when the enemy comes and turns around against you, because you better be ready to kill him. David realized you cannot play with the devil. You can't play patty cake, you can't have him over for dinner, can't have tea, can't have coffee, can't let him ride in your car, you know what I'm saying? Don't share Uber with him, none of that. When you get back your restoration and the enemy turns on you, you better kill it. Some of us are busy running. We got what we want, and I'm leaving that. I ain't got to worry about it. I got that. Me and my house. As for me and my house, we're going to serve the Lord. No, as for me and my house, my neighborhood, my street, my community, my city, my county, my state, my country, my world will serve the Lord. That's my job. Amen. Because if I only worry about my house, the enemy set up camp right next door to me. And my kids got to leave the house. And the enemy's waiting on my kids to leave the house. Because see, watch this. The enemy may not even be concerned about you no more. Because your days are numbered. But he's concerned about your children. If the enemy can kill the legacy, then the enemy is called genocide. Man, this is Black History Month. I'm sure y'all know what genocide is. See, Black, we understand it when it comes to us, but can you understand what spiritual genocide is? And that's what we're dealing with right now. So I ask you this morning, are you going to go through life allowing the enemy to commit spiritual genocide and stop what God has given? Are you going to fall down? Are you going to give up? Are you going to try to be like somebody else and lose the battle because it hasn't been proven? Or are you going to be true to who you are and be true to who you are. We got to go into life with a different mindset now. With the mindset of understanding that it's not about you. It's not about me. It's about God. And when you realize that they've offended God, when they are offending His kingdom, His word, and when that bothers you and offends you, then you can fight. But you must be prepared. Amen? Amen. Amen. Let us stand in prayer. You know, we often try to go through life being just self-absorbed and just concerned about how we feel and what our city and what happens in our country or our even house. I would say this week we lost one of the greatest evangelists of our century.
Amen.
Many of you wouldn't be saved if it wasn't for Billy Graham. I don't know if you know the story of it, but he had a backstory. I mean, seriously. But it was all. But here's the funny part. Can you imagine? What if his friend never brought him to that tent revival?
That's right. That's right.
You know what I'm saying? We talk about Billy Graham.
Yeah.
What about his friend that picked him up? And even though he was like, I'm not with that God stuff. See, because he was like, he was a young adult. Okay? He didn't grow up in the church. He was not hearing none of that. But his friend brought him to a tent revival and brought him again. That may be you. See, sometimes we're so busy trying to be the next Billy Graham. God is saying, no, I just need you to reach the next one. Give him a ride. Love on him. That's how the battle's won. You understand what I'm saying? And not get mad when God elevates them. You know, I told my church years ago, sometimes you just got to be grateful that God used you in the plan. Some of y'all mad just because of the fact that you're a kicker. And the only thing you do is you come in and kick the extra point. But I've seen some games lost due to extra points. Okay? Miss an extra point and you'll see what happens. That's going to make a real bad day for you. Alabama almost witnessed that. So, as we pray, I want you to think about in your life where you have not been true to yourself. And we're going to pray for forgiveness. Because we've been wearing a mask, put on a facade of someone else. Because we didn't think who we were and who we are worthy. That's what it really is. When you know you're worthy, you'll never imitate somebody else. When you know your value, you ain't never gonna be like somebody else. Matter of fact, you gotta maintain to be humble because you'll be wondering why won't nobody be like you. So you gotta have a balance there. So if you're busy, and you know in your life, I mean, I did it. I was a kid and dressed like Michael Jackson sometimes when I was younger. You know, then dressed like Prince. I mean, see, pray for me. But I had to develop my identity and love who I was. One thing now, if you're a close friend of mine, you'll know I love me. I'm not in love with me, but I'm saying I love who God made me. Dear Heavenly Father, you come to this morning saying thank you, Father. Father, right now we realize that everyone here has not even accepted you as their Lord and Savior.
Lord Jesus.
One of the reasons they haven't because they don't even know who they are. So first, Father, we ask that you move upon their heart. Open up their spirit to realize that they are a child of yours.
Yes.
and that you have destined them for greatness. But the key is you. The key is you, Father. So, Father, right now, before we go any further, if there is one right now that realizes that they have not given themselves to you, they haven't opened up their heart to you, they haven't accepted you as their Lord and Savior, let them just raise their hand right now. Father, for those that are raising their hand, I want you to send people that will love on them, that will pray with them, that will not treat them like a stepchild and drop them off at the church door, but will adopt them and love and walk with them. Because we realize, oh, y'all better start praising God right now. Because we realize that we need them. We don't know right now if the next person that accepts Him, accepts you, Father, is going to be the next great evangelist of our time. We don't know if they're going to be the next great doctor in healing in your name. The next great artist singing and praising in your name. The next great president giving glory and honor to you in your name. But we want to make sure that we cover them and we love them.
Yes, yes.
Father, secondly, we pray and we ask you to recondition our hearts. To be true not just to ourselves but to you. Let us not continue to go through life emulating what a churchgoer or a Christian looks like. But let us go through life living the life of a believer. We all have an identity of serving you differently. And let us embrace the way that you want us to serve you. Some may be more radical than others. And be able to storm the gates of hell and bring back every lost soul. Some of us are just there when you bring them back to love on them. Some of us are here to pray for those of us that are storming the gates of hell. Some of us are there to heal those of us that get beat up in the battle as we're storming the gates of hell. Some of us are there just for encouragement. But Father, let us understand every single one of us is needed in the kingdom. And let us embrace that. Let us be fulfilled with that. Father, there is an awakening happening in this church. I pray a special covering over New Morning Light.
Amen. Yes, sir.
And I don't mean just inside this sanctuary. I pray a covering over the whole community that we serve here. And that you prepare our hearts to receive the influx of individuals that will be coming through the door. To be able to love on the individuals that will be coming through this door. To be able to serve the individuals that will be coming through this door. And if you know that you're ready for that, and you haven't been living for that, now's your time to get it right. Now's your time to say yes, Lord. Now's your time to turn from the wicked ways that you had and come back into the kingdom. Some of us have been spiritual punks, spiritually inept. Father, right now, let us be strong and stand up. we're ready to be restored. We're ready to embrace, and we're ready to love. Father, we thank you.
Thank you.
We thank you for the souls that have said yes. We thank you for the new people that have said yes. And that want to live new for you and get right for you and want to turn from their wicked ways, Father, to be more like you. We praise you and we celebrate you. And as we close this prayer, Father, we want to close it praising you. Because we're so grateful that we have been allowed to be a part of this. As the angels rejoice in heaven, we are rejoicing on earth. So let's close this prayer by just praising God right now. Oh, tell him thank